1 second. All right, here we go. All right, let's go through our source code weekly call. The first thing that I would like to share, I've shared it via YouTube yesterday. I've tried a different approach, and I'm not sure myself how scalable that is. Where about prioritization and planning. So one thing that I felt was always not good is that we have a good view of what happens in the next milestone and in the current milestone, but we don't have a good view of what happens longer term. What we've done in the past, we have simply assigned issues to certain milestones out in the future. And then when that future came, we moved things out. But there was a lack of oversight of what is coming. So I would like to have that in one place. And I attempted doing that with the proposal that I shared. So now inside the issue or the epic that we used for the planning, I have basically listed all the issues that I think are relevant. And I think this list is going to continue to grow. So this was just an initial effort to collect those relevant issues, but it will continue to grow. And hopefully that will give us a better oversight of what's coming, and will, with this nice feature of bulleted lists, will allow us to move them up and down in priority. Any thoughts? Sean has already commented on the ticket, but I guess we will have to see how it works when we work with it.
I do have I have a question and also a comment of something I didn't think about before. I'll start with the comment. So what we've been doing with the build boards historically is just changing we kind of had one board and then we're just changing the filters. And what that meant was we would lose, as we went to each new release, we would lose the history. So I think that's just kind of separate issue, but that can be dealt with by always creating a new build board, which I did for this last release. But in general, just trying to always create a build board, because then we can see, kind of the release view. But the other question I had was, so do we still use the planning board in this approach? Or does this supersede the planning board?
I think we don't necessarily need the planning board. Yeah, I mean, what's nice about the boards is they are much quicker set up, right? But what I didn't like about the boards is that there's no additional information that you can put there. And maybe at some point, I am so familiar with each issue that I don't need this additional information. But right now, I feel like still need it, right? So on some tickets, I need to add additional information to help me understand why this is an important priority.
Okay.
Is that extra information the bullet points underneath all the issues in the list?
Yeah. So the indented ones. And the nice thing, if they're indented and then you move them with the mouse, the indented part goes with it, right? So that doesn't get lost.
And we will start this for the next release?
Yeah, basically, no.
Okay.
Today we'll have a meeting later.
So thanks for this proposal, Toshin. It definitely looks like stepping in the right direction for us to have a better view about what's the current in-flight work and the upcoming milestones, and having a longer term view is definitely beneficial for everybody. So thanks for putting this together. That's the first. Every time I see something like this, I always think about how much will it cost to keep it updated. And for example, I see that you have like now we have the benefit of having that little plus thing with the link, which is great, expands to the issue title. But the weights and milestones, they need to be updated by hand. So every time we need to move something, we won't be able to just move it on an issue board or on the issue itself. We need to remember to come back to this issue and keep it up to date for it to be valuable, right? So in that would be my question. Like, it feels like it's not like an easy task. And how often should we revise it? Is it an ongoing basis that you see this going forward, where every time we do a change, we go back to this issue or to this epic and update the description? Or is it just some sort of like recurring periodical meeting that we have about updating that epic and to keep that epic up to date? How would you see that?
I was hoping that initially it's super painful. And then, you know, once we have this initial setup, then, you know, new issues come in and we would then add them there, right? So it would be every time something new comes up, it would be an extra minute or two to prepare that and to put it in the right place in the priority order. But then we would always have a prioritized list and we could, at any day, we could make a planning for the next release. And yeah, that was my hope.
Okay.
I'm myself a bit skeptical about the whole thing now that I've invested so much, because I realized how much work it is. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can totally. One of the things I love about GitLab is that we love trying new things, trying new processes and new things. And since we're also stepping towards the next prioritization process in engineering and everything, and all the quad planning, this definitely makes sense to help us having a better view of everything. And it's a single source of truth for the priorities of the team over the next couple of milestones. So I feel like that's worth a shot. And I'm looking forward to trying it out in practice.
I'm also seeing it a bit as an opportunity for us to come up with ideas, what input we could provide to the planning team. Because so there are other products out there, like Product Board, for instance, that are designed for that, where you can, you have different metrics. For instance, you know, is this a customer thing? Is this a risk thing? Is this what's the cost of it? Cost in terms of effort and stuff like that. And where you can then, you know, create a magical number that results in a number that you can use for prioritization. I've used Product Board in the past, and yeah, it sounds all magical. In the end, it's still a lot of manual stuff, and in the end, you just need to know your backlog very well to make those decisions: what should go first and what should go next. Especially because you have different rules of, you know, there is priority in terms of customer value, and then there are other things that don't follow a priority order, but they have a time attached to it. For instance, a customer needs this by then, otherwise we're going to lose the customer. So it's like about a date, or we have set our own rules that certain types of bugs need to be fixed after a certain amount of time. And for instance, this is something that Product Board couldn't do. It couldn't manage two different types of rules, one based on priority and the other one based on timeline. And I think we as a company here have the same situation, that we have different rules. Okay, I don't want to spend all this time on this.
Thanks.
Unless you have further comments, then let's move to the next one. Sean, where are you going? If you mind sharing, it's on YouTube.
I am going to Australia, which I normally do, every July. Basically, it's school holidays here, so off to Melbourne, and we'll have a beach house for a week. Although, you know, it's winter, right? So,
okay.
So I've created a coverage issue. Igor is on this call, as he will be stepping in some of the technical question. You know, if you have a question about an issue or anything like that, you can ask Igor. I've pinged David O'Regan. He's happy to help with a couple of the items. And I guess maybe we can just kind of work through the rest of the list. What else is there? Need to have a quick look. So David said you can do one-on-ones, milestone slippage. And then I guess, Andre, maybe you could also help out with the retro. Well, he's put his name for retro as well, but
Yeah.
or as maybe as a secondary, that would be. Look, I know you've got 3 teams yourself at the moment, so
Yeah.
yeah. But I think the team's fairly self-sufficient anyway. You know, we can plan most of the next release now, and yeah, they're a pretty senior team. Right,
Yeah, it makes
Igor?
sense. Thanks.
No worries. So thank you very much. And then I think the next one was Michael.
Yeah. My point is just moving it to start 30 minutes earlier than this time, so that it doesn't land. Yeah, whether that's forward or backwards, I'm not 100% sure. That's why I was trying to word that one there.
Depends if you're in the States or not. But Michael, we can go. I mean, we're all in Europe. If you wanted to go earlier, we can go probably quite a bit earlier, depending on people's schedules. Because I know it's very late over where you are.
But you want
I think that's
later, right? You want, Michael, did you say later or earlier?
earlier. Yeah.
Earlier, okay.
Yeah.
Check.
Just by 30 minutes, so that
Okay.
basically it just lands in my calendar, so that like I see it in a day's view. Like I'm fine with the time. Like I'm up doing stuff, working anyway, so it's fine by me. It's just, yeah.
I think it's okay for me too. I wouldn't change
Okay.
it then. Oh, actually, Amy will not be happy about that. Let's
Oh, sorry, we're not all in Europe. We've got Amy.
And Torsten, since we're here, could you also please invite me to this call? Because I'm not, so I won't come uninvited.
Yep.
Thank you.
So let's ask in the group chat whether Amy is fine with moving up by half an hour.
I think, isn't she on PTO?
I think she's only
She's off
next
this week.
She's off this week. I thought next week. Okay. Yeah, then let's ask next week.
No, I think she's working this week. She's off next week.
That's my understanding too.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next one is Andre.
Thank you. So this is kind of related to your proposal, I guess, because you can fit it in there. But just wanted to check in how would be a good way for us to prepare a prioritized list of maintenance tasks that we've been asked to prepare for delivering to you, Torsten, the PM. And part of my problem is that the current maintenance work that we have, a lot of it is kind of like created in like an epic or like to refactor some of the old pages and stuff that we haven't broken down because we haven't had capacity for it. So it's hard to kind of like prepare a prioritized list of work that hasn't been broken down yet, like those refactors. But we do have a bunch of like loose issues that we can start like crawling into like a bag for us to pick from. And yeah, I was trying to visualize it. So I prepared this sort of issue board with all the maintenance related labels that I could think of. And I share the links there. And I was wondering any ideas on how we can then pull this into a shape of a prioritized list that would be useful for planning each milestone. And Sean, you had a comment here.
Yeah, also a bit related, kind of was the same, coming from the same issue, I guess, the prioritization issue. So we have I just ran a report. I ran a little report again to extract all the issues. So we have 3,009 issues open in source code, which is also an improvement. We've closed some. So about half those are not labeled with a type. So there is an activity to go through and do that. But if you see their threads in the issue, you know, Wayne has kind of said, well, maybe just pick from the ones that we've already labeled, which would be already on your board there, Andre. So if we're looking at 3 milestones, I think maintenance, we've probably got like what, 6 issues or 10%, you know, 10 to 20%, right? Like, so I think maybe we'll just pick out, I don't know, maybe even 10 issues and put them in priority order.
And we dump them in the description of that epic, like create a section for this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sounds good, Torsten, to you?
So I have a question. So I'm looking at these 2 boards, and on the back end one, there are 23, and on the front end one, there are 28. That's the total number?
I know.
Or
Where's 23? Oh, they're just the ones that are labeled type maintenance. There should be more
yes,
than that, actually.
that's something I observed as well during my activity, that there is, I think there were only 2 that somehow had a label that referred to maintenance in some way. So, for instance, the highlight.js, right? We consider that as a performance improvement, but you could also say it's maintenance. I'm not sure. I would have to go to the ticket to know whether it's called maintenance.
Well, there's a type. So the type is feature, maintenance, or a bug. So, and I guess that now that the idea is that now then is kind of owned, I guess, by feature would be yourself, bug is quality, which is new, and maintenance would be Andre or myself. So it is a fairly big change to what we've been doing, but I guess it's come out of this working group.
And would this highlight.js be a maintenance thing, just for my understanding of the category?
That is a tricky one. I would have to think about that a little longer, because some parts of the highlight.js are indeed maintenance, full-on maintenance. Others are feature. Like, for example, this thing about the link of the package manager files, putting a link there, that's actually rebuilding a feature. So it's a feature building thing, but it's related to a refactor that we're doing for performance reasons. It's a gray area, I would say. It's a really bad example to start role modeling everything after. So it could be either, I would say.
Well, they're typed labels, so we have to, you know, it's only possible to actually choose scope labels. Sorry, it's only possible.
Yeah, we have to
choose
make
one.
a call.
Yeah. Sorry, am I on? Yeah.
We hear you.
But then, if I'm just trying to find the actual link, but there is that's come out of this working group. There is this thing that I think it's 70% was supposed to be doing 60 or 70% product, and then the rest is split between bugs and maintenance. So I know we don't really do that now, because as you pointed out earlier, Torsten, we have all these things that do the kind of overriding issues like reliability, expiring, security, InfoDev, etc. But I think that in the normal world, I'm just trying to find the link. I never read it just the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. I don't want to share my screen just because we're, but I'll drop the link into the issue, into the document. Yeah, I've just dropped it in there. And if you follow that third link from the top, which is cross-functional prioritization, talks about it there. I did actually discuss this with Dava, because I said, you know, this is quite different from what we're doing now, but according to her, it doesn't change anything about the priority of InfraDev or past due reliability or past due security still being first. So until we clear all those, I guess, but percentages. Somewhere it's got, I think it was 60% or 70% product is what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know if anyone else has seen it.
Yeah, I think it's wrong that company proposes such a fixed relationship for all the teams, because the teams are very different. So a team that is brand new, that not the team is brand new, but what they're building is brand new. They shouldn't have any bugs, right? What could be broken if there is nothing, right? So how should they be working on bugs? A team like ours that's working on a product that is very, very mature, and it's normal that we have bugs that we need to fix. And I think more important for us is that we make a clear, that we clearly distinguish between two types of bugs. One type of bug is about risk. So lowering risk, for instance, because API is vulnerable or availability cannot be guaranteed and things like that. That's lowering risk. And then another type is actual bugs that affect the customer right now, right? So not about risk, where it could affect the customer, but about actually affecting them in their daily work. And I think in the past month, we have too much focused on that first type, that risk type, and not enough on the customer one. So I think if we find for ourselves, for our team, a good mix, I think this is this is something that we should consider when creating that pie chart, right? What kind of bugs are we dealing with?
Yes, 100%. I think an important step for this, to understand this, is to peel back the layers a little bit and to understand what they're aiming at, which is so that maintenance work is constant, is constantly being scheduled to not be forgotten. The proportion, I think we should be able to tweak them to our reality, like you said. So right now, I'm just worried about how we make it visible. The proportion, we decide that on the milestone. For example, if we look at the Highlight.js as being maintenance, the majority of the front end has been working on maintenance, right? So
the majority of the back end also, really, a lot of it.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been an issue for us forgetting to schedule maintenance work.
Yeah.
So it's we're definitely in a different field, but makes sense to prepare the flow and process to account for this. But that sounds good to me.
Yep.
Like we talked about. Thank you, both of you.
So I just want to also thank you, Andre. I just pointed out, I just did a little arrow to the link. So if you go to the page, it's cross-functional prioritization. That's what I was trying to find earlier. So that talks about the three different labels, and it says product manager prioritizes feature, engineering manager prioritizes maintenance, quality, which is new, right? So quality didn't do any prioritization previously. Prioritizes bugs, and then it kind of above that, it's talking about that we kind of have control, I guess, over the ratio, but it's saying if you don't know where the ratio should be, use recommended guideline of 60 feature, 30 maintenance, and 10% bugs.
There you go.
And then also further down, it says it's recommended that we use a cross-functional prioritization board that has 3 columns. So I don't know. Look, I guess we can work any way we want to, I guess, but I guess this did come out of a working group, so we maybe should just think about it a bit.
Should we start inviting Anastasia to join our calls then?
For sure, yeah. So she's in New Zealand. So that could be tricky. I guess we could at least record them, or we are recording them, pass them to her. But we could also consider maybe alternating the times, because we've also got Michael's in Australia and she's in New Zealand, and maybe we switch between morning and afternoon in order to accommodate everyone.
We can do that. Yeah. Shall we note that down here in the earlier section. So
maybe the action there is to asynchronously try to schedule a different time slot that matches like New Zealand, Australia, like all of those time zones. Or maybe we just do one session per month for milestone planning, including her, for prioritization of bugs.
That works as well. Yep. Maybe a separate meeting.
okay, that would also be easier because we are then in Europe and she's in New Zealand. What's the time difference between Europe and New Zealand?
It'll be like 8 o'clock in the morning for us.
Plus 12.
Yep, for the end of her day.
Okay. So we'll keep the group meeting as it is, you suggest, and have a prioritization meeting with her.
So maybe we should do that like a week before the milestone, end of the milestone, to just give us a bit of breathing space. Something like that.
Should we end of the milestone? Okay. So the schedule on your team, I think it's like the 10th of the month. We want to have something, or what is I don't have it in my head.
Yeah, so that schedule is up for grabs, but that schedule was something we worked out with when Sarah was the PM. But if we want to change it, that's perfectly fine with me. I guess we just needed to not do it at the last minute, give ourselves a week or so. Yep.
I'm fine with sticking to
I
it now. I don't have a better proposal.
Okay, fine. Yeah, also with the other proposal you had, Torsten, totally okay with it. Maybe after we dry run it, and we, if we agree on it and everything, then can we then update the documentation on the page so we've got somewhere to point to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, we're at time. Anything else?
I just added a quick point about severity labels as a potential alternate to label bugs. So extra classifications. So Torsten, you were talking about bug types that are a risk to customers versus like urgent ones or current ones. But in the past, teams that I've worked with, we use severity labels, and is kind of a granular way to categorize the severity of the bugs, like if it's urgent or not.
Yeah, we're using that as well, but I feel like we're using it wrong because we overemphasize, in my opinion, those risk-related ones. So even if you have, let's say, one about availability, that is severity 4, we consider that more important than a customer complaint that they cannot do a certain thing. And I think that's wrong, right? So we should find a better mix.
Okay.
Regarding the prioritization meeting, since Sean is going to be out soon, let's do that for the next milestone, 15.4, I suggest. Does that make sense?
Oh, sorry, the following. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's fine. So we'll do the normal process for the next one. Or the current process. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. Yep.
So I'll meet with Sean later today to talk about the backend stuff, and maybe we'll have to meet again tomorrow. And then Andre, you and I are not out, so can do it either tomorrow or next week.
Sure. Reach out and we can plan it. Thanks.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.